The hum of engines filled the cockpit of the Destiny's Whisper, mingling with the soft clicks of the navigation console. Jacob Larson, a courier for the Intergalactic Communication Network, adjusted the course to Arcturus Prime. His brown hair tousled in the low gravity. He could hardly contain his excitement. Each delivery brought its own thrill, but today felt special. "Come on, focus," he muttered to himself, swiping through the transmission files on his screen. The Telath had a reputation for their intricate politics, and rumors of unrest surrounded their homeworld. He couldn't afford lapses in concentration, not when he was about to land in the heart of a seemingly affluent but tumultuous society. "Hey, Jake. You got the Telath job," shouted his co-worker Talia from the engine room, her voice barely audible over the thrumming engines. "Yeah," he replied, adjusting the throttle. "Just finishing the approach now. Be careful. I hear those guys don't take kindly to outsiders." "I'll keep that in mind," he chuckled, rolling his eyes. It was one thing to just deliver messages, but Jacob felt the magnetic pull of intrigue around the Talrath. Was it the landscape he saw out of the cockpit? The glistening cities reflecting the light of the system's binary suns? Or something more? As he landed at the bustling spaceport Alicia, the docking clamps engaged with a satisfying thud. He took a deep breath, the anticipation settling like a warm blanket over his shoulders. He stepped out of the ship, a mix of excitement and apprehension swirling in his stomach. "Welcome to Talrath," the port officer greeted him, his antennae twitching with curiosity. "You're Jacob Larson, yes?" "That's me," Jacob smiled, holding out his identification. "I have an urgent delivery for the council." The officer scanned the identification lazily, then motioned him forward. "This way, please. The High Council awaits your report. Be advised, they're particularly sensitive today." Jacob suppressed a chuckle. Sensitive? That could mean anything from a minor disagreement to a full-blown civil discussion. He followed the officer into an expansive hall adorned with luminescent sculptures that shifted colors, pulsating as if alive. As they approached the council chamber, Jacob's heart raced. He could hear heated voices within, a cacophony of chatter mixing like a storm brewing. The officer signaled for Jacob to wait, stepping inside to announce him. Moments later, he was ushered inside. "Ah, the courier," boomed a tall Talrath with sharp features and an air of authority. "What brings you to us from the Galactic Corps?" Jacob held up the data crystal. "I have a proposal for the trade negotiations with the Selkers." "Don't waste our time with pleasantries," interrupted a smaller Talrath whose voice piped with impatience. "We need direct measures, not flowery words." "Right," Jacob said, swallowing hard. The message outlines potential trade routes, mutually beneficial terms, and counter-proposals with the Selkers. You're gonna want to review it closely. The room fell into a charged silence as several Talrath stared at him, calculating. "Proceed," Jacob Larson, the tall Talrath gestured, beckoning him closer. As he handed over the crystal, a figure stepped forward. Nira. She was striking, a blend of violet skin with bright emerald highlights tracing the contours of her face. They locked eyes, and Jacob felt a flutter of something unfamiliar. "Thank you," she said gracefully, her melodic voice cutting through the tension. "I am Nira, the liaison for this council." "You speak humbly for a courier." "Just trying to stick to the basics," Jacob replied, feeling warmth rise in his cheeks. "I mean, the message is critical, but I'm no diplomat." "Not yet," she smiled, a glimmer of encouragement in her eyes. "Your straightforwardness may prove valuable in these negotiations." The small Talrath who had interrupted Jacob smirked. "Valuable? There's nothing valuable in simplicity. We need complexity, Nira. This man lacks it." Nira lifted her chin defiantly. "Do remember, my esteemed colleague, that even the simplest ideas can shift the course of history." A murmur of agreement rippled through the council members. Jacob felt a rush of hope. Nira was fearless. "If you'll excuse me, I have other matters to attend to," the tall Talrath said, dismissing them. "We will review your message, Jacob, but do not expect us to entertain simple propositions." As the council members began to disperse, Jacob turned to Nira. "I appreciate your support. You didn't have to stand up for me. Perhaps I saw potential in your simplicity, after all," she replied, her violet eyes twinkling. "But these negotiations could go awry." "Communication is key," Jacob said, feeling more confident. "Maybe I could help more directly? I've specialized in reading between the lines. Understanding unspoken tensions is what I do." "You handle diplomacy better than most couriers I've known," Nira observed. "Perhaps you might join us for tomorrow's gathering. Your perspective could help us navigate these talks." "Wouldn't that put me at risk?" he chuckled. "I mean, I'd be just a courier stepping into the lion's den." Nira stepped closer, her voice lowering to a whisper. "Then let us make sure you bring a roar." Jacob's heart raced. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, drawing him into her world and leaving him vulnerable. All right, I'm in. Just tell me when and where. Very well, gather in the same hall at dawn, Nira instructed, her face lighting up as she drew back. We'll see how you can change the tides. Jacob watched her leave, feeling an unexpected surge of determination. Maybe this wasn't just a delivery after all. There was more happening here, something profound, and he was right in the middle of it. Next stop? A revolution, he whispered to himself, a smile creeping across his face as he prepared to leave the council chamber. But as he stepped out of the hall, he couldn't shake the feeling that by the end of this, he would not just be known as a courier anymore. Something brilliant was about to ignite, one that would set the course of history for the Tal Rath and possibly for humanity. Chapter 2, The Encounter. The first rays of light flooded through Jacob's window, casting patterns across the cabin of the Destiny's Whisper. Here his eyes, still buzzing from the surprise invitation by Nira. Something about her captivated him, the way she held herself with confidence and grace. The ship's intercom crackled. Jake, you awake? Talia's voice chimed through the static. Yeah, I'm up. Jacob replied, stretching. What's up? Just checking. Heard you had a spirited chat with the Tal Rath Council yesterday. You didn't get yourself into trouble, did you? She teased. Not yet, but there's still time. He laughed, pacing the small room. Good luck with that, Talia chirped back. Listen, I already prepped the ship for your next run. Just say the word when you're ready to set off. Jacob found his mind wandering back to Nira. Actually, I might be slightly delayed. I'm sticking around for a little while. Why? You in love or something? Talia chuckled. Something like that, he murmured, more to himself than to her. I'll catch you later. As he left the ship, the vibrant atmosphere of Alicia enveloped him. The streets were bustling with Tal Rath citizens, their skin shimmering in the morning sun. Artisans were setting up booths filled with intricate works, each piece a testament to their advanced technology and culture. Hey, watch where you're walking, a Tal Rath merchant shouted as Jacob nearly bumped into a display of glowing orbs. Sorry, he called back, smiling awkwardly as he moved on. Finding the council hall wasn't difficult, it loomed large against the skyline, its elegant architecture almost hypnotizing. He felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Jacob had always been a messenger, a background figure in the galaxy's affairs. Now he was stepping into the spotlight. As he entered the hall, he found it already abuzz with activity. Members of the council were deep in discussion while Nira stood at the center, commanding attention. The moment she spotted him, her expression shifted from professional to warm. Jacob, you made it, Nira exclaimed, walking toward him. I wasn't sure you would. Had to show my face, he said, smiling awkwardly. Ready to get to work? More than ever, she replied, her eyes sparkling. We have a lot to cover, and I think your perspective could shift the way we approach the Selkers. Just then, a Tal Rath named Kale approached, arms crossed over his chest. Nira, are you really bringing a courier into our discussions? No offense, Jacob, but this isn't a casual picnic. None taken, Kale, Jacob said, raising his hand slightly. I understand the concern. Nira interjected, but you don't understand our situation, Kale. The Selkers see us as weak, and Jacob's observations yesterday were remarkably insightful. Insightful? Kale arched an eyebrow. I hope you're not exaggerating. I saw how you negotiate, Jacob said, sensing tension. You stick to your protocols, but the Selkers don't play by the same rules. They'll exploit that. Kale glanced at Nira and back at Jacob. You think this courier understands our intricacies? Yes, Nira replied confidently. And he understands the values of clear communication. We need that now. Fine, Kale relented, his jaw tightening. But if this goes south, it's on your head, Nira. Understood, she nodded, then turned back to Jacob. Follow me, please. As they moved toward a more private chamber off to the side, Jacob felt a thrill. Thanks for sticking up for me, he said earnestly. Don't mention it, Nira replied, glancing back at him. If you truly believe in what you're saying, then we need each other. But you must be willing to challenge the norm. I'm ready, he confirmed, a fire igniting. Tell me what you need. Once inside the room, Nira activated a holographic display. Images of trade routes and potential agreements flickered in midair. As you can see, these are our current proposals to the Selkers. She gestured toward the wires entangled in the air which sparkled under the light. Right, Jacob studied the display closely. But what if you shifted the focus? Instead of trade routes, start with mutual benefits, something they can't overlook. Interesting approach, Nira mused. We've approached them with strength, but perhaps this could lead to dialogue. Kale walked in with a dismissive wave. Dialogue? Don't be foolish. The Selkers view negotiation as a weakness. On the contrary, Jacob said, holding his ground. If you leverage the mutual benefits and show them that their well-being ties into your own, they may listen. Have you consulted with the Selkers before? Kale raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched on his face. No, but I have dealt with people who refuse to see outside their interests. They need to feel their position is secure, Jacob explained. If they think they're gaining something, they might soften. Nira's expression brightened. You're onto something, Jacob. We can frame our goals in a way that aligns with theirs. Kale crossed his arms again, still frowning. We'll see if they're willing to entertain such notions. You may just be wasting our time. I'm not trying to waste anyone's time, Jacob snapped, frustration bubbling up. I'm here to get things done. Nira raised a hand. Jacob, let's not get too heated. Kale may be difficult, but he has valuable insights. Jacob sighed, shaking his head. I'm not trying to diminish anyone's work. I just want to contribute. Nira looked between the two men, her brows knitting together. Let's take a step back, shall we? We're here for a common purpose. Kale, what if we could create a win-win situation? Kale finally seemed to consider it, unfolding his arms. Fine. Let's brainstorm ideas and see if this courier truly has merit. With Nira leading the way, the three of them dove deep into discussions. Suggestions bounced back and forth like a game of cosmic billiards. Through heated debates and animated dialogue, Jacob felt walls crashing down around him, his outsider status fading with each interaction. Eventually, as the hours passed and the tension began to ease, Jacob found himself laughing with Nira over a low-stakes debate about the best pizza recipe from Earth. I bet the Talath have an equivalent, he chuckled, leaning closer. Can you imagine toppings that glow in the dark? Now that would be a sight to see, she laughed, her voice musical. As the meeting ended, Nira caught Jacob's eye. You handled that well. We accomplished more than I expected. Thanks to you, Jacob replied softly, feeling a connection bloom. Care to grab a bite to eat? Nira asked, a spark of playfulness in her eyes. I believe our culinary options could use a bit of Earth influence. Absolutely, he said, unable to suppress his smile. Let's see what the Talrath can offer. As they walked side by side, Jacob felt lighter than he had in years. Not only was he starting to reshape the course of negotiations, but he was also forging a connection with someone who made the galaxy feel a little smaller and a lot more exciting. Chapter 3, Seeds of Revolt. The next few days passed in a flurry of strategy sessions and unexpected camaraderie. Jacob found himself enjoying every moment spent with Nira as they crafted proposals and reviewed tactics for their meetings with the Selkers. Alicia's vibrant streets became a second home, and their partnership blossomed into something deeper. One evening, as they sat outside a local cafe, the air was thick with the aroma of alien spices and delicacies. Nira stirred a steaming cup of Talath tea, her eyes shining with anticipation. I think we're finally getting through to them, Nira said, leaning forward, excitement evident in her voice. Kale seemed more open today. Did you notice? Yeah, he even smiled. Jacob chuckled, recalling the moment with a grin. I never thought I'd see the day. Just then, a Talrath waiter approached their table, his antennae twitching above his vibrant skin. Does everything meet your expectations? He asked, glancing between the two. Delicious, as always, Nira assured him, raising her cup. How's the negotiation coming along? The waiter inquired, curiosity dancing in his eyes. Progressing, Jacob replied, feeling a surge of confidence. It's hard work, but we're on the right track. In that moment, the waiter's expression shifted. The Talath need to hear your voice, he said quietly. There are murmurs among our people. Anger is brewing beneath the surface. Jacob exchanged glances with Nira, concern flickering in her eyes. What do you mean? She asked, a hint of urgency in her tone. There are those who feel we are losing our identity in these negotiations. Suppression from the council has led to discontent. The waiter replied, his voice low. We fear what the Selkers may demand. We need to address that, Jacob insisted, his determination growing. It's not just about trade agreements. It's about your people's dignity and autonomy. The waiter nodded. You speak wisely, human. If you can sway the council to see this, you might have a chance to stand together. Thank you for your honesty, Nira said, glancing at Jacob. I think we need to bring this up with Kale. The waiter finished serving them and slipped back inside the cafe, leaving Jacob and Nira with a weighty new responsibility. Should we meet Kale now? Jacob asked, rubbing his hands together. Yes, Nira replied resolutely. We can't wait. If there's unrest among the people, we need to address it before the Selkers arrive again. They made their way to the council hall, where they found Kale deep in conversation with another council member. He seemed displeased, his features tight. "Kale, we need to talk," Nira said, her voice firm as she approached. Kale turned, frowning. "What is it now? We've barely scrapped together a decent proposal." Jacob took a deep breath and stepped forward. "There's something crucial that you need to know." Kale crossed his arms, ready for skepticism. "And what could a courier like you possibly have to say that's worth our time?" "It's about the people," Jacob replied, matching his intensity. The waiter at the cafe shared some serious concerns. "There's unrest brewing among the Talrath. They feel like their identity is being compromised in these negotiations." Kale scoffed. "That's not our problem. We need to focus on trade agreements. The Selkers don't care about sentiment." "But that's exactly it," Jacob argued, feeling adrenaline rush through him. "If they think we're weak, they'll take advantage. You have to consider that the people need to feel valued, not just a means to an end." Nira stepped in. "If we don't address this dissatisfaction openly, we risk factions forming against us. We could lose their trust completely." "Trust," Kale echoed, skepticism lingering. "This isn't a game of friendship, Nira. This is trade." "Trade is built on relationships," Jacob countered. "Without trust, your trade agreements hold no value. We need to frame our approach to appeal to both sides." Kale's expression shifted, his brow furrowing as he thought it through. "All right, I'll humor you both. But how can we engage the people without undermining the council's authority? If we show them that we're listening, that their voices matter, we can unite them under a shared goal," Nira suggested, her tone persuasive. "We can hold an open forum, give them a chance to express their concerns directly." "A forum?" Kale paused now, weighing the idea. "You think that will quell their discontent?" "Yes," Jacob said, feeling the weight of his words. "It'll allow them to feel heard while we remain in control of the narrative." Kale eyed them both, finally relenting. "Fine. If we're going to take this route, we need to act quickly. We'll schedule it for tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Jacob exclaimed, glancing at Nira, who appeared equally surprised. "That gives us almost no time to prepare. Do you think the people have been waiting for the perfect moment?" "No, they've been yearning for a chance to voice their frustrations," Kale replied sharply. "We need to show the council that the Talrath are willing to engage in a dialogue. It's time." "All right," Jacob said, nodding resolutely. "Let's make it impactful." As they paid their respects and left the council, Jacob was filled with adrenaline. "This is it," he whispered nervously, glancing at Nira. She looked back at him, her expression softening. "You did well back there, Jacob. You stood firm. I believe together we might actually make a difference." "Thanks," he said, feeling a sense of camaraderie swell. "But it's going to be chaos. Are you ready for that?" "Absolutely," she shot back, a smirk on her lips. "It's a chance to harness that chaos into something constructive." In the hours leading up to the open forum, Jacob and Nira worked tirelessly on their presentation, organizing the data they had collected and stimulating discussions. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across Alicia, Jacob felt a familiar warmth growing between them, a spark ignited by shared purpose. "We're going to make it, aren't we?" he asked, looking straight into Nira's mesmerizing eyes. "Together, yes," she smiled softly, a hint of something deeper. T-Hope loomed in his chest. The path was uncertain and challenging, but the connection he had forged with Nira and the Talrath people made all the difference. They were unified now, a team ready to challenge the tides. Chapter 4, The Spark. The morning of the open forum arrived, enveloping Alicia in a kaleidoscope of colors as citizens thronged the central square. Jacob felt a mix of anxiety and excitement ripple through him as he and Nira approached the makeshift stage erected for the event. It was an odd sight juxtaposed against the majestic architecture of the Talrath homeworld, but it was what they had to work with. "Looks like they're gathering," Nira said, glancing around. "We need to be ready." "Yeah, but I have to say, this feels different." "Like we're really on the cusp of something," Jacob replied, straightening his collar in a futile attempt to ease his nerves. "Would you relax?" Nira teased, nudging him. "We've planned this. We just need to engage with them honestly." "Easy for you to say," Jacob grinned. "You've done this before." "True, but every crowd is different," she said, scanning the faces among the gathering crowd. "We have to be ready for anything." As the square filled, Jacob noticed a few familiar faces among the crowd, a mix of hopeful citizens and wary skeptics. "Do you see Kale?" Nira asked, frowning slightly. "He should be here to help manage expectations." Jacob pointed toward the side of the square where Kale was talking to another council member. Looks like he's in a deep discussion. As if he sensed their gaze, Kale looked over, his expression unreadable. He waved them over, beckoning urgently. What's up? Nira asked as they reached him. Not everyone is enthusiastic about this forum, Kale said, his voice low. I've heard some dissenters plan to disrupt the event. Disrupt? Jacob echoed, disbelief creeping into his tone. Why would they do that? Some think the council is losing control. They want to show strength, but they fail to realize that unity is critical right now, Kale replied, his brow furrowed. We need to be prepared. Do you have any idea how many? Nira pressed. 10 to 15 at least. They might see it as an opportunity to provoke chaos, Kale warned. Great, Jacob muttered under his breath. So much for a smooth discussion. We'll manage it. We have to focus on the bigger picture, Nira said, steeling herself. When we begin, I'll take the lead in engaging with the crowd. You back me up. All right, but there are no guarantees, Jacob cautioned. None of this is guaranteed, Kale added, crossing his arms. But we must proceed boldly. If we let fear dictate our actions, we've lost already. With that rallying speech, Jacob almost felt a surge of confidence. Okay, let's do this. As they took to the stage, Jacob noticed the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Some wore expressions of curiosity while others carried skepticism. Nira stepped forward, raising her hands for quiet. Citizens of Talrath. Nira called out, her voice clear and strong. We've gathered here today not just to speak, but to listen, to understand your thoughts and concerns regarding our negotiations with the Selkers. Jacob felt a swell of pride as he watched her engage the crowd. She had a natural way of drawing people in. A few people shouted questions before she could finish. We have nothing to gain, one voice called out. Why should we trust the council? Another shouted, and murmurs spread through the crowd. Nira stood firm, her gaze sweeping over the audience. I understand your frustration and your anger. You have every right to feel this way. But today is not only about the council, it's about you, your voices matter. Jacob stepped up beside her, encouraged by her confidence. We want to hear what you have to say. If this is going to work, we need your input. This is a partnership. A wave of murmurs surged through the crowd, curiosity peaking. Suddenly, a man with fiery eyes stepped forward, his expression fierce. You call this a partnership? You think we can bargain with a race that considers us inferior? Your voice is important, Jacob insisted, trying to keep his tone calm. But let's not discount the power we hold together. If we present our unified front, the Selkers will have to acknowledge our demands. Unification? The man scoffed. What do we do when they don't listen? You think they won't take everything? That's why we're here, Nira interjected, her voice unwavering. We will confront these challenges head-on. But we can't do that with division among ourselves. We must stand united to show that we are worthy of respect. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd, but skepticism still lingered. All right, another voice called out. But how do you plan to do that? You may have these fancy ideas, but we need more than just words. Jacob felt a spark of inspiration. What if we organize into committees? Each group can focus on different aspects of our concerns: trade, cultural identity, even security. That way we'll have a comprehensive approach. Nira nodded, quickly picking up on his idea. Yes. And we can appoint representatives to bring those concerns back here, directly to the council. The council? The fiery-eyed man scoffed again. What good will they do? We're just pawns to them. Not if we show them we're informed and prepared, Nira responded firmly. If we demand accountability and present our proposals as one voice, they'll have to listen. Will they? The man pressed. Or will they continue to see our plight as a nuisance? Jacob stepped forward again. Then we have to demonstrate our unity and willingness to stand for our needs loud and clear. If we merely sit back and accept that we are overlooked, nothing will change. Nira raised her hand, beckoning for silence. Listen, today is just the beginning. We can organize our ideas, channel our frustrations into actionable plans, and take those to the council together. As she spoke, Jacob felt the mood starting to shift. Faces were starting to soften, curiosity sparking in their eyes. What do we have to lose? Someone shouted. Exactly. Jacob called back, riding the wave of momentum. If we take action now, we can foster real change. Gradually, more voices rose in agreement. The crowd began to murmur among themselves, the thunder of conversation building into an undeniable force. Just then, Jacob noticed movement at the outskirts of the crowd. A group of about a dozen individuals, clad in black garb, pushed their way forward. It was clear they were the dissenters Kale had warned about. Shut this down. They don't care about us, one of them shouted, attempting to drown out the dialogue. Jacob felt the collective breath of the crowd waver, tension crackling through the air. Are we going to let them disrupt this? Nira asked Jacob, her expression fierce. No, Jacob replied, stepping forward, propelled by a surge of adrenaline. We need to get them involved without inciting chaos. How? Nira questioned. By engaging them. We can't ignore them or their concerns, or we risk losing everything. With that, Jacob turned toward the dissenters. You there. You think this is pointless, but you still showed up. Why? The leader of the dissenters shot back, because we can't afford to pretend there's hope. The council is a farce and they'll never change. Maybe they won't, Jacob replied. But we can change ourselves. We're right here talking to you, give us a chance to address your concerns. The leader's eyes narrowed, surprise and doubt crossed his face. What do you offer? Unity, Jacob said passionately. Channel your anger into something constructive. Instead of tearing us down, let's work together to hold the council accountable. The crowd fell silent, uncertainty painting their faces as they processed his words. Who are you to tell us how to act? The leader but there was hesitation in his voice now. I'm just someone who believes a fractured voice won't resonate, Jacob replied, making eye contact with him. And neither will an angry mob. But imagine what we can achieve if we create proposals that highlight each concern. Slowly, murmurs began again. The dissenters, still apprehensive, exchanged glances. Is this really what we need? Another dissenting voice asked from behind. What if it's another broken promise? Then we'll still be together, Nira spoke up, her voice steady. Let the council hear us as one, united. We don't just have demands, we have each other. Jacob felt the energy shift once more. There was still palpable resistance, but it was accompanied by curiosity. Join us. Jacob implored, his heart pounding. You are a part of this community. We don't have to agree on everything, but if the Selkers see dissent, we lose our strength. The leader hesitated again, poker-faced. But around him, others were starting to step forward. We'll consider it, he finally conceded, a cautious flicker of determination igniting among his group. Good, Jacob said, relief washing over him. Let's find solutions together. As the crowd started to pulse with new energy, Nira stepped closer to Jacob, her eyes radiating appreciation. You did it. You held them together. I couldn't have done it without you, he replied with a smile, feeling exhilaration coursing through him. Perhaps, Nira murmured gently, but today marks the beginning of a real movement. With the crowd buzzing all around, a newfound solidarity was forming. As Jacob exchanged glances with Nira, the electric connection between them pulsed with urgency and determination. They were breaking down walls, and the next chapter was only just beginning. Chapter 5, The Change. The sun set over Alicia, casting long shadows as Jacob and Nira watched together. The hum of excitement still lingered in the air from the earlier forum, and Jacob felt a sense of exhilaration wash over him. Together, they had ignited a spark among the Tal-Ath people, and it was clear the energy was far from dwindling. Did you see their faces? Nira marveled, leaning against a rail that overlooked the expansive view of the city. They were awakening. All of it may not come to fruition immediately, but today was a crucial step, Jacob said, feeling a warmth grow within him. And it feels good to be a part of something so meaningful. Nira turned towards him, her eyes glinting with both admiration and determination. But we can't stop now. We need to follow through on the discussions and make sure we build on this momentum. Jacob nodded, and they both started walking back toward the council hall. What do you think Kale will say? Do you think he'll be open to continuing this dialogue? Just then, Kale approached from the shadows, a look of contemplation on his face. You both took a risk out there, he said, crossing his arms. But it wasn't without merit. What do you mean? Jacob asked, the hint of nervousness creeping in. People listened, Kale said, rubbing his chin. I didn't think you could bring them together like that, Jacob. Thanks, I guess, Jacob replied, feeling a mix of pride and uncertainty. But it wasn't just me, it was all of us. Nira added, what's important now is to maintain that connection. We can hold weekly forums to keep the dialogue going. Kale frowned, his expression hardening. You seriously think the council will agree to that? They might see it as a threat to their authority. That's why we need to address it directly, Jacob interjected. If we present it as a means to strengthen our society rather than a challenge, they might consider it. Or they might dismiss it outright, Kale warned. Then we have to show them there's no option to ignore it, Nira chimed in. The Tal-Ath deserve to have their voices heard, and the council needs to see the strength in that unity. Kale sighed, his gaze shifting toward the bustling square. Very well. I'll advocate for it during the next council meeting, but I need your assurances that we will present ourselves calmly. We can't afford any outbursts. Absolutely, Nira vowed, glancing at Jacob. Right? Right, Jacob affirmed, nodding firmly. We'll keep it structured. Good, Kale said. I'll arrange for you both to prepare an outline for the presentation. Meet me tomorrow morning before the council convenes. As Kale walked away, Jacob turned to Nira, his pulse quickening. Did we really just secure the chance to continue this? Yes, we did. Nira grinned, beaming with excitement. This is huge. They began walking through the streets, which glowed under the soft light of floating orbs that illuminated Alicia's architecture. Where to next? Jacob asked, unable to shake the anticipation from his bones. Let's find a place to celebrate, Nira suggested playfully. We might just be on the verge of something impactful. How about that bakery we passed earlier? Jacob chuckled as he nodded. All right, lead the way. Once inside the bakery, Jacob was greeted by the delightful aromas of pastries filled with fruits and sweet creams. Everything looks amazing, he exclaimed, trying to decide which dessert to choose. Nira stood beside him, humming softly, her gaze wandering over the array of treats. What about those? She pointed to a batch of shimmering fruit tarts. I'll take one of those, Jacob agreed, eyeing them hungrily. What do you want? I'll try the cream-filled pastries, she replied, flashing him a playful smile. As they ordered, Jacob attempted small talk with the Talrath cashier. Everything looks delicious. I've never seen pastries like this before. Thank you. They are a specialty of the Talrath, the cashier responded. We pride ourselves on creating flavors that reflect our world. After today, I think I could enjoy a lot of flavors, Jacob grinned, accepting the treats. Once they had settled at a table outside, Nira took a bite of her pastry and closed her eyes, savoring the taste. This is exquisite. You must try it. Jacob picked up his tart, taking a cautious bite. Whoa, this is incredible. Why don't we have these back home? I'm starting to think Earth could learn a thing or two from us, she teased. They continued small talk, but Jacob couldn't shake a feeling that had been building since the earlier event. Nira, about what we're doing, it's daunting. Daunting? She asked, locking eyes with him. How so? Well, we're essentially asking for change in a system built on tradition. The council might resist. It's true, Nira said, thoughtful. But remember, change isn't easy. It takes perseverance. Today was proof. We changed the conversation, which is the first step. His gaze softened as he met her eyes. You make it sound easy. It's not, she admitted, her demeanor shifting to one of seriousness. But we aren't alone. We're building a community. And while it might be tough, I believe we can face that together. A warmth filled Jacob's chest at her words. You really believe that? I do, she replied earnestly. We've already garnered attention, and if we keep pushing, we can persuade others to join us. The Talath people want change, Jacob. They simply need guidance. Her confidence was infectious, stirring something deep within him. It's hard to ignore your optimistic outlook. It's hard to ignore the bond we're forming, Nira said, leaning in slightly. We're on this together. The weight of their shared mission filled the air, thick with unspoken understanding. Speaking of bonds, I feel like we're creating layers with our work, imposing our ideas, Jacob mused, flushing slightly. And I want to make sure we don't lose sight of the people's individuality. That's exactly right. This isn't about imposing our views, it's about fostering dialogue, Nira encouraged, her expression sincere. Tomorrow, I'll make sure I keep that in mind during our presentation with the council, he said, determination hardening his tone. As they finished their pastries and chatted more about strategies and ideas, Jacob felt a deeper connection with Nira. With every shared moment, his admiration for her grew. They were similar yet different, a balance he hadn't anticipated. Do you think Kale will really support us as things progress? Jacob asked, breaking a comfortable silence. He's on board now, and as long as we stay communicative, I think he'll maintain that support, Nira said. If he sees the benefits of a united front, he'll advocate for it. True, Jacob acknowledged. But what if the council turns against him or us? Nira shook her head, dismissing his fears. We can't worry about what-ifs. We need to focus on our goals and ensure our message is clear. We're going to plant the seeds of change, and they'll see. Jacob marveled at her ability to uphold such a resolute stance. All right. I feel like whatever comes our way, we can handle it together. With that, they finished their pastries and prepared to head back to the council hall. You know, Nira began, glancing sideways, I wasn't expecting this journey to lead to friendships or even now. Or even what? Jacob pressed, curiosity growing. Or even a deeper connection, she concluded softly, her eyes meeting his. Jacob hesitated, feeling the weight of her words settle in the air between them. I do feel that too, Nira. I wasn't planning on it, but I'm glad it's happening. As they stepped back onto the busy street, he hoped the connection they were forging could withstand whatever challenges awaited them. Together, they could navigate this new uncharted territory, further bonds intertwining as they pushed toward an uncertain future.